Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at play props here for Tuesday night's NBA slate. Got a couple of games to choose from. Also have our best bets video up as well with those some bets from both those games. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page and continue to follow along. We also have thelines.com where we're throwing up the picks on the site these days. Also have the odds finder tool up there you can use to make sure that you are getting the best odds available to you from all of these books giving us bets this postseason. We don't obviously know yet how we did on Monday. We are getting ahead of these Tuesday night games for you by recording on Monday afternoon out here on the West Coast. So we'll continue to follow along there. I think we're going to have some pretty good success tonight. We'll be back with the record in the next video for you guys on those. So let's just go ahead and jump right into your first NBA play prop for Tuesday night, Nate.
Yeah, as of Monday here, Jalen Brunson is questionable technically, but it's really Jimmy Butler and Julius Randle who are closer to doubtful. And I think if one or both of those guys is out, either way, I mean, Jalen to score 25 points is more of a lock. It's already minus 120, but I mean, I'm taking it either way. I think if Julius Randle does not play, I mean, if both don't play, then I'm going to make it a same game parlay. I'm going to take him 25 points, 5 assists, Knicks to win. And the Knicks money line is the only thing that makes me nervous if Jimmy Butler's playing because he will not lose right now. But that would be plus 215. So I think that is extremely likely. I mean, I think Jalen is almost a lock to score 25 regardless of these injuries. He had 25 in game one despite shooting poorly for him. 0 for 7 from 3. In these playoffs, he's shooting 24% from 3, and he shot 42% in the regular season. I don't think that this is all, great defense or the playoffs changing things. I think he's just missed some shots that he usually hits, including he shot pretty well against Miami. He shot 68% inside the arc against Miami in 3 meetings. And Miami actually allowed the third most threes to point guards on the season, despite being really good in other areas. I don't know if Kyle Lowry is going to have the same type of game he did in game one in terms of impact, which was, a real throwback game. Jimmy spent some time guarding Jalen, and if he's not 100%, he's not going to be able to do that as effectively. And if Randle's out, 2 regular season games without Randle, Jalen went up to 37.5 points, 8.5 assists with a 38% usage rate. He had a 33% usage rate in game one of this series without Randle, and that's why he got 25 points despite missing shots. So I think 25 points is really the floor in a must-win situation for the Knicks, and I'm willing to build off that with the parlays.
I'm with it. I mean, if you're going to get the 25 points, like you said, build off of that, maybe some assists in there as well. I worry about points being scored without both those guys in there. But, I mean, for the Knicks, it's going to be Jalen Brunson. 25 might feel like the floor is also kind of around, honestly, what I am expecting. I didn't feel quite as comfortable going. It was 24.5, 25.5 in game one. He got 25. And so depending on where you found it and when you found it, you were either happy or disappointed as he was right on that line. He had an awful shooting quarter in the first quarter. He came out and they really relied on RJ Barrett to hit shots in the first quarter as Jalen Brunson went, I believe, 1 for 7 there. And that without that crappy start, the rest of the game, he was fine. So yeah, as long as he can put together, 5 to 6 points a quarter. Obviously, that's obvious math. I'm just saying, like, averaging that out and not having a stinker of a 2-point quarter is really going to help out him to continue that scoring success that I think he's very, very capable of. So I'm going to have some fun with the next bet because I'm really believing in LeBron in this game as much as I have not been believing in him at times because of age and rest, right? And it's the playoffs. So for the next one, I'm going LeBron 30 points in this one. That's plus 165 on DraftKings. I'm going to put a half a unit on that. And then I'm also going to put a quarter of a unit on a big, basically same game parlay, but it's also a player performance double on FanDuel where LeBron scores 30, the Lakers win, and you get plus 430 for that. So a quarter of a unit at 4.3 to 1 on my money there for that bet. It's LeBron pick 'em game. It's his spot that he's picking here. I know he has to choose his battles. You knew he was going to choose his battles when he was going to in the first series, as we both called that pretty consistently. I was continuing to go under on his points, under 26.5 in the last game there. He had a 16 at halftime, but they had already been blowing that team, the Grizz, out enough for him to not even really be needed anymore. Still felt good about that because of that reason. And then the other thing is, the other games where he just didn't choose to bring it and score not that many points were the ones, where it was right after a big game that he knew he was going to bring it. Game 1 of last series is another great example. Another reason I'm eyeing this spot for it. He knew he had to come out and just sort of take care of business on the road and take away the soul, if you will, of the Grizzlies a bit, to be like, we're just going to go ahead and snatch that home court advantage from you real quick and not even put our backs up against the wall in game 2. I know if I'm LeBron, I get to rest a bit more in game 2, because if we can steal home court advantage, that's how we're playing chess this series, like I kind of talked about in the best bets video there. So I'll mention it as well. First of all, in game 1 of last series was the only one he scored 30. So this is the spot as I see it, with 4 days of rest versus a game 2 nights from now where he's only going to have 1 full day of rest, and then it's going to be game 2 back in Golden State once more. So that's also why I like what I talked about in the best bets video. The Lakers to win game 1, the Dubs to win the series. On DraftKings, you can get that special under playoff series props for plus 550 there on DraftKings, which I like a lot as well. He likes playing Golden State. Like, let's just be very clear. He had 56 on them earlier in the year, and he has 32, 12, and 6 assists that he's averaged against them in his last 5 against Golden State. And I'm not even going to go back to when he was on Cleveland and dominating Golden State the way he was, but we all have seen what he's done in the finals against his team, even when he has to be a bit more of a one-man squad, which I don't think he does in this series, but I still think he's going to be the one to lead the way and really pound the ball up against the rim as much as he can in game 1.
I like you shooting your shot here. Certainly getting some big odds and hoping you can pick the LeBron game. We talk about the Klay game in the last round. I mean, right now LeBron is taking nights off for sure. For me, I like the parlay you threw out more, AD 25 plus and win, because I think he is more of an effective barometer of how the Lakers are playing in terms of whether they're physically dominant down low. And whether he's effective, and most importantly, is he still upright? Has he not gone to the locker room for X-rays? Because if that happens, I think they're kind of screwed. I don't know how healthy LeBron is, but the extra rest should certainly help him to put together a superhuman effort. I'm going to play a little bit safer in a bet that I think I think Austin Reaves is undervalued in this spot because he's playing nearly the entire game at this point. So for 20.5 points, rebounds, you get minus 108 at FanDuel. That's my preferred bet. In 2 versus Golden State to end the regular season, he averaged 16.5 points, just 2 rebounds and just 6 assists because he only played 23 minutes a game, and he's a plus 21. And it was pretty obvious that eventually for Darvin Ham to say, like, look, this kid just should be playing more. Like, flat out, he's helpful on both ends of the floor. He really stepped up against the Warriors, 73% from the floor, 167 offensive rating. And the Warriors, this is kind of the area that they've struggled in terms of, they have limited assists, is why I'm steering away from that. They held the Kings to just 22 assists per game, but they allowed 48 boards per game. They actually allowed the most rebounds to shooting guards all season. And if you see his Reaves in kind of a Malik Monk role, which is like, I'm going to give you a little outside, I'm going to get in the lane, see what I can do as a facilitator scorer. Malik Monk averaged 19 points and 5.5 boards in that series, playing under 30 minutes a game. Right now, Austin Reaves is coming off a series where he played 36.5 and averaged 16.5 points, 5.5 boards. So, these are the expected numbers, I think. And I think he will get them.
Yeah, that's fair. I actually think Austin Reaves is someone who is a candidate for guarding Curry at points in this series, which would only up the amount of minutes that he's playing if he's doing that. And he's a guy that's shown he can play plenty of minutes without getting tired and has plenty of youth in those legs to be a scorer. And he's in there now in that final unit. Like I'm definitely going to be targeting Austin Reaves in this series, just like I did in the last one. because of the fact that not only is he getting some bench minutes here and there, obviously we know he's a starter, but he is playing some second unit minutes because he is getting over 40, and he's playing in the fourth quarter as like a staple in that it's not like a matchup thing with him. He's big and athletic, so he can really, guard multiple different positions, and he'll be out there for a lot of minutes. So I'm with you to follow those minutes for Austin Reaves in this series with the Dubs. Speaking of Klay Thompson from a minute ago, I think it's time to go back under him. A frowny face, 22.5 points under that for him in this game. You could also actually, that's minus 105 on DraftKings. To be transparent, you can also get under 23.5 points for Klay at minus 125 on FanDuel, depending on how much you believe in fading him in this one. I just think the math, if you just stay at this number, if it's 23.5 points and you just kind of it sits there, like keep going under for Klay at this point, because I do believe that that's close to his ceiling. I will say, I wish I had spoken to my buddy who covers the team closely for the Merker out here, because he was very clear that the strategy for the Kings against Klay Thompson, which I think is the strategy that, if you're Darvin Ham, you go ahead and just follow whatever Mike Brown was doing to shut down Klay Thompson, because Mike Brown was an assistant coach on that team for years and knows as much about that offensive strategy and defensive strategy as anybody on the Lakers. On the Warriors. So if you're Darvin Ham, coach for the Lakers, you follow that strategy. You force Klay inside the 3-point line. That's what I found out was the strategy a little bit too late, which worked very well. In a lot of ways, he's not as good driving to the rim. A couple of different times, a couple of different games where he had multiple turnovers as a result, trying to get assists, missing layups at time because it's just not the same dude that he was. And if you're going to keep pushing him back, or force him off the line, he's either got to be 35 feet away to pull a three, or he's going to have to drive it into the lane. And that's a big reason why he only got 23 points twice in those 7 games against a Kings team that is not the same defensive unit that the Lakers will be. And the most important aspect of that is the Lakers defense at the rim. And so if you're Klay, like, you're going to have to pull up from the mid range, which is fine, but like, Klay hitting 4 mid-range shots and only getting 7 3 attempts from deep, that's a recipe for under 23 points for Klay Thompson, especially at this point in his career. So sad to say, like, it's starting to become the beginning of the end, it feels like, and I'm going to continue to hit this prop even if he got 23 points or 24 points in this game because of straight usage. Like, I'm going to continue to fade it. And also, last thing I'll say is he's so hyped to play the Lakers because that's where he grew up. His dad played for the Lakers. I think game 1 is a good spot for him to be a little bit overexcited and not play well against him. And he hasn't played well against him. He has only scored 23 points once in his last 7 meetings with the Lakers, even including the regular season, because you think he just gets a little bit too hyped to play his hometown team.
Yeah, I mean, the recipe for this game going under is Klay Thompson not scoring 22 or more. We talk about in the game video. I like under. Josh said he might take the Warriors to go under their team total, which is 116.5. And yeah, they've gone under that in consecutive games, even with Steph getting 50, because Klay has not been producing.
Well, they had 120 when Steph scored 50 because they scored a bunch at the end. But like before that, they were.
But that was still under their team total, yeah, which was 121.5 for game 7, I believe. Yeah,
nice.
So yeah, I mean, I've gone over some of their numbers. Klay and Poole both shooting under 35% against the Lakers, like you said. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I'm just looking. I'm looking at the under for the game because of it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We've got a lot of similar game theory there. The only thing that scares me, like I said, is if LeBron really tries to bring it. You can still easily go under 229, even if LeBron gets 30 and really is taking the majority of the shots. I do agree that the pace isn't necessarily going to be quite as fast. The Dubs tend to go under at home for sure, way more than on the road where they just hemorrhage points and just a barrage of threes from them. So this is going to be a lot more of a defensive minded game, but also just not a lot of legs, I don't think, after such a big game 7 for them. So that's all the time we have for you in this one, though. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. We are coming back with best bets and player props for you guys on Wednesday night slate. So until we see you next, happy betting.